Ms. Zarowski, I can't remember testimony as compelling or as forceful as yours. I do this for a living. When I heard your story as you presented it, I thought for a moment, what would I feel like if you were my daughter going through this? The joy of a possible grandchild that's been erased and now you struggling to live, and an arbitrary political obstacle to saving your life. At some point, you had to be so sick and near death before they finally would agree to terminate the pregnancy. As you listen to the testimony from witnesses who share your feelings and don't, what was your reaction?
It's a good question. It's very complicated. As Dr. Verma said, everything about abortion is complicated. I understand that. You know, it gives me a lot of hope to know that there are people like you and like some of my fellow witnesses who are fighting for safe and accessible health care. But it's also infuriating to know that there are people who think that what happened to me was okay and that it should have happened and that it should continue to happen.
Once again, your answer is direct and has great meaning for me personally, I hope for others. I'd like to ask Dr. Skopas a question. Based on your profession and medical expertise, with a reasonable degree of medical certainty, tell me when life begins.
96% of biologists agree, and I agree, and this is scientifically proven, that life begins at the time the sperm fertilizes an egg to create a zygote, which is the first stage in the process of human life.
So the termination of a pregnancy is the taking of life at any stage after the moment of conception?
The legal definition of abortion is an action performed with the intent to end the unborn human life.
So is the answer the affirmative?
Yes, sir.
Do you support Senator Graham's bill?
I'm here today in the capacity as a clinician and as a researcher. And as I've stated in my testimony, I think there are many reasons to support Senator Graham's bill based on the effects that late-term abortions have on women, which I have noted in my practice can be devastating, particularly the case that many of these women are coerced into these abortions.
I'm not at that level. I'm trying to stick to the original question. But it's my understanding that if you believe an abortion occurs when a pregnancy is ended after the moment of conception, then the notion of his bill limiting abortion to 15 weeks suggests that would be the taking of a human life for 15 weeks after birth. Is that correct?
I understand what you're saying, and there is a difference between what is politically feasible and what is morally defensible. And I think our country does need to have a conversation about the reasons that we are taking human life.
In my mind, this gets to the heart of the issue and the debate. When does life begin? The debate has been going on for a long period of time, maybe from the beginning of civilization. I'm not sure I have the right answer. I'm not sure Dr. Skop has the right answer. We're trying to find a humane response. When I listen to Ms. Zarowski, I understand if you start from the moment of conception and say that she has to weather what she did, literally at the brink of losing her life before you could end that abortion, you have to ask yourself, what about the life of the mother? Is that a critical element too? I think it is. Professor Goodwin, you talked about what women are going through now with data privacy and the possibility that they're going to be tracked as to whether they visit an abortion clinic and penalized by their home state. Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility, and already in the state of Idaho, there's legislation moving forward to track whether people would leave the state and travel. What we see is the dismantling, the vulnerability of constitutional principles that date back centuries, and abortion is being used as a proxy to dismantle fundamental constitutional principles, including the right to travel.
Dr. Wuberhorst makes a point about the number of African-American women who are seeking abortions. Would you like to respond to that?
Yes, I would. Senator Durbin, in the state of Mississippi, a Black woman is 118 times more likely to die by carrying a pregnancy to term than by having an abortion. The state of Mississippi has notoriously been a death sentence for Black women dating back to the time of slavery, through Jim Crow, and to the present. And if we don't thread that needle together, then there's a lot that we are missing. There is a reason why Black women in Mississippi have sought to be able to terminate pregnancies for their own bodily autonomy, for their own safety, for their own health. Mississippi is one of the deadliest places, not just in the country to be pregnant, but it's one of the deadliest places in all of the industrialized world to be pregnant. And right now, as there are anti-abortion measures being spread through what was the U.S. Confederacy, what we see are the people who are most harmed were the people most harmed during American slavery and Jim Crow too, and that happens to be Black women.
Thank you, Professor.